It was just past midnight when the fluorescent lights of the nearly empty gas station flickered against the cool night air. The roads were quiet, the air heavy with the kind of silence that makes every small sound echo louder than it should. A lone sedan pulled up by one of the pumps, its headlights casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. Inside was Emily, a 32-year-old single mother, exhausted from another long shift at the diner where she worked. Her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, was fast asleep in the back seat, clutching her worn-out stuffed bunny. For Emily, this stop was supposed to be quick, a few gallons of gas, maybe a cup of coffee to help her stay awake for the last stretch home. But fate often works differently than we hope. Emily had barely stepped out of her car when she noticed a group of 3 men lingering near the convenience store entrance. They were loud, their laughter echoing across the empty lot. One of them lit a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating the smirk on his face. As she started pumping gas, their eyes turned toward her, and a chill ran down her spine. She kept her head low, hoping they would lose interest. But the more she tried to avoid attention, the more they seemed to notice her. If you believe in kindness, in the power of second chances, and in standing up for those who can't stand alone, please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. These stories are meant to remind us that goodness still exists in the world. One of the men whistled, the sound sharp and mocking. Another called out something crude, his words dripping with arrogance. Emily's chest tightened as she glanced at her daughter through the car window. Lily was still asleep, her face calm and peaceful, completely unaware of the danger outside. That single thought, protecting her little girl, gave Emily the strength to keep her composure. She turned her face away, silently praying the men would leave her alone. But they didn't. Their footsteps grew louder as they approached, circling closer like predators that had found new prey. Emily could smell the mix of alcohol and smoke on them before they even reached her. One leaned against the car, inches from the glass where Lily slept inside, smirking as he tapped on the window. Another stepped closer to Emily, invading her space, his shadow looming over her. Her hands shook, but she forced herself not to scream, terrified that it would wake her daughter and make things worse. She whispered a shaky plea for them to stop, but her voice was swallowed by their laughter. In that terrifying moment, Emily felt utterly helpless. She had no one to call, no family nearby, no one waiting for her at home. Her entire life had been about fighting through struggles, raising a child on her own, working endless hours just to survive, but right now, all of that strength seemed to vanish. She was one woman, outnumbered and cornered in the middle of the night. And then, from the distance, came a sound that changed everything. The low, thunderous rumble of motorcycle engines echoed through the stillness of the night. Headlights cut through the darkness as nearly a dozen bikers pulled into the gas station, their leather jackets gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. At first, Emily felt a new wave of fear. She didn't know who they were, and all she could think about was protecting Lily. But the men harassing her froze, their laughter abruptly silenced as the riders dismounted one by one, boots hitting the pavement in unison. The leader, a tall man with a thick beard and weathered face, walked forward, his eyes cold and steady as they locked on the thugs. Without a word, the bikers formed a circle around Emily and her car, creating a wall of steel and leather between her and the men who had cornered her. The thugs shifted uneasily, their earlier bravado draining away in the presence of the silent, intimidating force. One of them muttered something under his breath, but the leader of the bikers simply tilted his head, his expression daring them to make another move. Emily felt her knees weaken, not from fear this time, but from the overwhelming relief that washed over her. For the first time in what felt like forever, she wasn't alone. These strangers, men who looked rough and intimidating to anyone passing by, had appeared at the very moment she needed them most. The silence was thick, broken only by the distant hum of the gas station lights. The thugs exchanged nervous glances before finally backing away, their swagger gone. One cursed under his breath, but none of them dared to stay. They stumbled toward the street, disappearing into the shadows from where they came. Emily's chest rose and fell rapidly as she tried to process what had just happened. The bikers didn't speak much, but their actions said everything. One of them, a younger man with kind eyes, stepped forward and gently told her she was safe now. Another offered to pump the rest of her gas, insisting she keep her daughter close inside the car. Emily could barely find the words to thank them, her throat tightened, her eyes burning with tears she had tried so hard to hold back. When she finally glanced at Lily, still sleeping peacefully, the weight of what could have happened hit her all at once. She broke down, covering her face with trembling hands. The biker leader rested a reassuring hand on her shoulder, a silent promise that she had been protected by people she never expected. For Emily, it was more than just safety, it was proof that kindness could come from the most unexpected places, even from those who the world often judged too quickly. The bikers stayed until she was ready to leave, their presence a shield of silent strength. As Emily drove away, she looked in her rearview mirror and saw them still standing there under the harsh gas station lights, their silhouettes framed against the night sky. They weren't angels in the traditional sense, but in that moment, that's exactly what they were to her, guardians who appeared when she needed them most. The drive home was quiet except for the steady sound of Lily's soft breathing. Emily gripped the steering wheel tightly, her tears flowing freely now. She thought of the hardships she had endured, the countless nights she had felt invisible and forgotten, and the many times she wondered if anyone in this world truly cared. But tonight had answered that question. Strangers had cared. Strangers had protected her when she felt powerless. Strangers had reminded her that even in the darkest nights, light could appear in the unlikeliest of forms. Weeks later, Emily would learn more about that group of bikers. They weren't just any riders, they were part of a community who dedicated themselves to protecting women and children, using their intimidating presence to shield the vulnerable. They weren't perfect men, many of them carried stories of troubled pasts, but they had turned their lives into something meaningful. In standing up for others, they found redemption. And in saving Emily that night, they gave her a story she would never forget, a story she would one day tell Lily when she was old enough to understand. For Emily, the memory of that night became more than a nightmare, it became a reminder that courage doesn't always come with a gentle smile. Sometimes it comes roaring on the back of a motorcycle, wearing leather jackets and carrying the strength of a brotherhood bound by loyalty and kindness. It reminded her that she wasn't truly alone in this world. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below about a time when a stranger showed you unexpected kindness. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful, emotional stories that remind us all of the good that still exists in humanity. And as Emily drove away that night, she whispered a quiet thank you into the dark, knowing it would never fully reach the men who had saved her, but perhaps, in some way, they already knew. Because true kindness never asks for recognition. It simply shows up when it's needed most.